If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. If you listened to last week's show, you heard our guest Daisy come on and talk about the multitude of dogman encounters that she's had on her farm in the UK. Well, she's had so many experiences that I didn't have time to ask any questions in that show, so luckily she's agreed to come back to do that Q&A now, so that's what we're going to do. Having said that, Daisy, thanks so much for coming back.
Hi, you're welcome, Vic. It's been very interesting, and thank you everybody for the comments. They were very, very interesting and very kind. Thank you.
It gets me that you were so surprised by how positive the comments were, the feedback for your first show, but didn't surprise me at all because, like I told you, you knocked it out of the park. You did an amazing job.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's my life. It's how I've lived it, and it's the things that have happened here, and it's good to share it with other people that are either interested in it or have had their own encounters, because everybody reacts as individuals to it. And I mean, I'm lucky with my encounter, but some people have been absolutely terrified.
Some have been terrified, and for good reason, but yeah, you did live it. You lived all these experiences, but the way you related those experiences, it was masterful how you did it. That's why the people were so taken by you. You did an amazing job. But having said that, Daisy, for anyone who missed that show, please give us a quick flyover of your experiences and the situation you found yourself in.
Right. Okay. So I live on a very ancient farm, just me and my dad, and obviously the cattle and animals and our dogs, the dogs are our children, basically. I was born here. I was born in the sitting room in front of the fire, and just had an absolutely wonderful, very, very old-fashioned childhood here, playing out on the farm, even to the point of we used to go out and ride the sheep. At that point, we weren't allowed to have ponies, so we had sheep and pet sheep and calves, and just incredible fun growing up around animals, and playing hide and seek and climbing trees, throwing damsons at each other, and fishing, and all things that kids, I believe, now should still be doing. Sadly, they don't get the chance now. But yes, we would be outside until it was dark, and Mum roughly knew where we were, and we were up in the woods or in the fields, and she had no worries at all. Absolutely no worries at that time, put it that way. Yeah, she's wonderful. I have 2 dogs with me. At one point we had 6 dogs here. I have a horse, and we've still got cattle on the farm. The sheep have now gone, and a lot of it is arable. Sadly, a lot of the dairy farms are closing down, and I think that ours won't be long behind, but we will still keep beef cattle here. Yes, I first saw my first dogman encounter was roughly 20 years ago. He was very small then, about my height, or just a bit taller than me, and I, at the time, thought he was young, but now, after other experiences, I believe that he's been here all the time, and maybe he can change shape or change his size, rather, as he shows himself to me. Maybe that's the way to describe it. But then I saw him last year, May 27th, and now he's absolutely massive, huge. I saw him come out from a woodland on the right-hand side of me. He crossed a track in front of me, and just for a few seconds I was absolutely terrified, because he's just huge. He must stand 6 foot at the shoulder now. He was on all fours. He didn't at that point stand up. He looked me in the eyes, and he didn't mind speak to me. He told me not to fear him. He told me his name, which is between me and him. It's very private. And he said some other stuff to me, which again, I keep private out of my respect for him. And then later on, he came back in the woods behind me, and I say wood knocked. They were more like cracks on trees, really loud, one of which was only 6 foot away from me, and I didn't even see him. I've had him walk up to me at night times when I'm out doing my horse, and that was very scary, because I can't still work out to this day if it's more scary seeing something like that or not seeing it and knowing that it is walking straight up to you, straight up to your face. He did. And I was so scared, I stepped back so fast, I nearly fell over, and I could literally feel his energy. I could feel him right in front of me. I was literally waiting for him to huff or snort or something in my face, and absolutely nothing. I saw nothing. So I do believe, I have come to believe after lots of different experiences with him, when he could have so easily hurt me or my dogs or my animals or my horse, who has been involved in this, that he's not going to hurt me. He's a form of guardian for this ancient place that I love as much as he does, and I feel that he knows that. He must know that I was born here. He's seen me growing up, playing and in the rivers and the streams, and growing up with puppies and then losing them as old dogs. He's seen me go through all of that. And he's become, I believe, a form of a guardian, a woodland guardian. And for me, whenever I'm up the woods now, I'll talk to him out loud, and I will talk to him by his name, and I will thank him. I will thank him for keeping me and my dogs safe. Again, he could have so easily hurt me. He's massive. If he stood up right now, he would be 10 foot, at least 10 foot, if not higher. And as I said in the last interview, I believe he didn't stand up in the second encounter because he knew that I couldn't have coped with that. It doesn't matter if something that size says, do not fear me. You're going to fear it if it stands up and it is that tall. My heart wouldn't have coped with it. I think I would have just passed out. But he hasn't hurt me. He hasn't hurt any of my animals. In fact, I believe that he's come to look after me from something else. I don't know if that's another Dogman. I suspect it is. I have had 2 encounters with a black one now, not 100% clear encounters. I've seen her. She walked, I say her because she did have what looked like breasts, not like humans, but she did look like she had breasts. And she's very tall and slim, jet black, absolutely jet black. She literally walked past our sitting room window one evening when me and my dad were sitting indoors watching telly. And yes, and I'm starting to believe that, I don't know, maybe is she a little bit jealous because of the respect that me and the other one have for each other? Is that, I don't know if that's the right way of describing it, but I believe that he looks after me from either her or something else. I don't know. But it's one of those time will tells, and I will learn as this goes on. My mum, now she had 2 encounters, one of which I spoke of in the last interview. And so mum had 2. I've had 2 with him and 2 with the female. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'll never see him again. And I don't know how I feel about that, because it's an incredible experience to see something like that. But on the other hand, as I explained earlier, that I grew up seeing spirits, so spirits do not scare me at all. But to see something like this, that, as I described earlier, is the ultimate monster, the monster that is not meant to exist. And then you cannot help but think, what on earth, what is out there? You know, something that big could be walking beside you, and you haven't got a clue until it chooses to show itself. It's just incredible. Absolutely amazing. It has changed my life. It has changed my life completely. Really has. I mean, it's a difficult thing to trying to think. Since I saw him, obviously I've done research and explored different ideas, and I've always been very spiritual anyway because of all the things that I've seen, and seeing him has opened up so many other ideas to me, or so many different lines to go down. It's been a very interesting life, put it that way. Very interesting, and it keeps me on my toes. Yeah, keeps me on my toes.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Your life is anything but boring. Never a dull moment, it sounds like. If you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. You alluded to the possibility that the female just might be jealous of how you interact with the male, the huge male. Someone left a comment touching on that. They thought that might have been what was going on, and I sure hope that's not the case. That wouldn't be good.
Well, put it this way, he's shown himself to me in his massive form, and I do believe, hand on heart, he didn't stand up on purpose because he knew how terrified I would have been. So if he thinks that way about me, I can't see it being him that has thrown that, which I didn't just explain, thrown that fear on me. So often when I'm outside at night, in my horse late at night, and I won't have heard anything or seen anything, but it's like I explained, someone putting their hand in their pocket and just grabbing a big handful of fear and throwing it hard at you, and it hits you really hard. I can't see him doing that to me. The only reason he would do that to me is to maybe, if there's something else out there, I thought about this, if there was something else out there that he is protecting me from, maybe he puts that fear on me so that I go indoors and lock myself and the dogs in, and then we are safe, or hopefully safe. I think that is the only reason why he would do that to me. Otherwise, it's her. It must be her. You know, I've looked at that I've turned it inside out, and I think that's the only way it can be. But obviously, other people might have other ideas. People with other experiences might have different ideas. And I'm really grateful for all the comments that, you know, people put up, because that's part of the reason of doing this, is because like I said, I can learn from this, and other people will learn as well. I hope that explains.
Yeah, that was a great job of explaining. So that you said that now he seems to be about 6 feet tall at the shoulder on all fours. Well, as long as their torsos are, normally you can double their height on all fours and get a pretty close guess as to how tall they are bipedally. So, yeah, more than likely he's probably tickling the 12-foot tall mark, which that's almost the height of a freeway underpass.
Honestly, it just seems impossible to have something that massive that is walking around in the English countryside, let alone the UK, where your forests are bigger. You know, we have got mountains here. Some of our mountain ranges are pretty big, but obviously nothing like what you have. And to think that there is something that huge walking around, and people have no idea until like me, you've seen it. And he could, you could be out walking your dog and just walk straight past and have absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea, which is, again, why, he's not. I know people have bad encounters, but this has been good, and it's certainly been an eye-opener. And I honestly believe he's a guardian of the woodlands and the land here. And if that's the case, he's got no reason to want to hurt anyone other than maybe to protect his woodland or maybe to protect me and my dogs. I don't know. But I think the only reason he would have to really scare someone out of the woodlands is if he's protecting his homeland, basically. I really do believe that.
Well, if he is a guardian, I don't think security is much of a problem for him. He sounds like a specimen. How old is your farm, Daisy?
It was in the Doomsday Book. Going back, you're talking about the 10th century. Now, a lot of the house is 16th century, and a lot of the outbuildings are older than that. So it is very old. It's an incredible place. There used to be an old water mill here, which the steps and that are still there in the river for that, and that's an amazing place to go up. When we were kids, we were always building rafts and trying to get out onto the steps, and then now I still go fishing down there, and yes, beautiful, stunning, absolutely stunning. I can lay in bed and listen to that river. It's just incredible.
I'd love to be able to do that, but I can't. I'd wind up peeing the bed. So that takes that off the table for me.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. It sounds like, that farm is really old, which calls to question, have you ever turned up anything that makes you think that any kind of rituals or anything else might have been done there on the farm that might increase the likelihood of spiritual beings coming to the farm?
No, I have. No, I haven't. I've done some dowsing. I learnt to douse as a kid, and I've, I'm not professional, nowhere near, if anyone can be, but I can find drains and underground springs and things. I've doused this area, and there are ley lines here, and I believe that this farm might be smack on where they cross over. So that would be a big energy point. Now, there are, around the village, there are places that they have found where they were not Roman, older than Roman, but they found villas and places and stone circles and things that are very, very old, obviously. The church that is in the wood very close to our farm is 11th century, and I did some research on that. They said before that church was there was an old wooden church. Before that, there was a Roman temple, and then before that, there was a place of Druid worship. So there is actually, although there's nothing visible, there has been in the past a lot going on around here. The church was meant to have been closed for 100 years because it was said to have been used for unchristian practices. So, and that is basically smack bang in the middle of these woods.
Wow.
Yeah. So there, like I said, although there's nothing visible, I have found in the woods some old earthworks, which I want to explore and try and find out more about that. But I say there is nothing really above ground visible now to see. My niece, who basically believes she saw something similar to me a fortnight ago, she was out walking and she found the tree, which is probably nothing to do with this, but it's probably more pagan related. She said people have been hanging ribbons and shawls and things in there, and she found the deer's leg hanging up in there the other day and things. So whether that is anybody that has also seen him, and maybe that's their own little thanking station, without actually being brave enough to ask people, I don't know.
When you mentioned that old church in the woods there that was closed so long ago because unchristian practices were being performed there, it really does call into question, do you think it's a possibility that what you've been dealing with are demonic beings?
It's very, very possible. Yes, it is possible. It's something that I've tried to find out more about. I don't really know now who I could go to go back as far as that. It must be in, well, obviously I found that out, so it's in the church records. It's going back further than that.
I don't like the sound of that at all. How far is that church from your house into the woods?
In a straight line, it's probably only a mile away. No, it's probably, actually, do you know, it's probably not even a mile away. It's probably just over, about half a mile. Yeah, in a straight line. So it's not that far.
Close.
Between that and us, there's lots of underground strings, which I do believe can carry a lot of energy as well. So there's a lot going on here that energy wise, and probably a lot of the reason why we have all myself, my brothers and sisters, parents, we've all seen spirits, and say we've all had orbs. I see mainly red orbs, and they're the ones that I don't like because things have always happened after I see the red orbs, and they are actually, if I'm thinking about it, they are very close to the church, between us and the church. My dad, as I said before, my dad has mainly blue orbs. Some of them are absolutely massive. As I said before, I have actually followed him home in his tractor. And bless his soul, we had a friend until very recently passed away, who left work one evening about 6 o'clock and had a blue orb following him nearly all the way home in his car. He actually stopped, got out and looked, and he said the orb went and then came back again and followed him the rest of the way home. So there's obviously a lot of different energies going on here.
Yeah, I'd say so. And what you told us about the church, that does explain all those strange spiritual phenomena you've been experiencing over the years. It really does.
It does, yes. I have an old camper van, okay, and I go away all over the UK in that van, just me and my dog, loads of books and art stuff, love it. But I camped overnight in a field very, very close to that church. And all the places that I've been, that is the only place, and bear in mind, I'm half a mile away from home, that is the only place I've ever felt unsafe in. It was, I really did feel unsafe there.
Well, where there's smoke, there's normally fire. There must be something to that. Let's switch gears here and talk about those wood structures you found. Have you ever heard about any Sasquatch being seen in your area?
No, I haven't. Nothing at all. But I have seen two other, I know this sounds weird, but I've seen two other creatures that I almost think they might be Sasquatches. I think when I said two, I think it might be the same one. It's quite small. It's about 5.5 foot tall. It's upright again, and it's all over pale grey and quite fluffy. In fact, the first time I saw it, it was like a slim upright teddy bear. And I saw it after the cattle had been very upset, and my dad was out, and I'd hurt my back, so I didn't want to go down there unless the cattle, unless I was really worried about them. And the cattle were hollering, and I thought, well, one might be aborting its calf. So in the end, I grabbed one of the dogs and went down there, and this huge big red orb rose up out of the bushes, probably went about 6 foot up, and it was massive, biggest orb I've ever seen, and it exploded into like red and orange, and even in the daylight, it was almost blinding. Just after that, this pale grey creature just literally glided through the gap in the bramble bushes or past the gap. And it was really quite, I mean, anybody would say that's eerie. That sounds weird, but it just felt completely wrong. It felt completely wrong. And anyway, I managed to go uphill and look down on the cattle. They were still hollowing and milling around in a clump, very upset. And I came home, and later that evening, I saw that same grey creature literally glide past I have a glass door into the back garden, glide past that. And I'm going into detail on this because if there is a Sasquatch here, then I think that was it. But what relation it was to do with the big red orb, I don't know. And I've had other people say to me that's what, maybe it's what the Dogman looks after me from. But on the other hand, I think he looks after me from the black one. So there's so much going on here. There's so much going on here.
He might be trying to protect you from both.
Yeah, possibly. That was until, that I saw the greys, I call them, the first time. It was probably around August this year. And that was the first time I'd seen them. So up until then, I really just thought it was him and her, the black one. But now there's these other two grey things. Or I think it's probably the same grey one that I've seen twice. So I don't know.
You've got a lot of strange things going on around there, Daisy, I'll tell you.
I do. But like you say, I believe it's to do with the church and the ley line. I'm absolutely positive that there is a ley line that crosses straight over two ley lines here right on the farm. And the energy that brings in is something that I want to explore and do more research on. When I'm 100% positive I'm right with my dowsing, then I will know exactly where I am with that idea.
Your farm definitely seems to be a hot spot for paranormal activity, and normally you can point to one thing and say that's probably why, but in your case there are several reasons why that might be happening. So all we can do is guess. Now, you've had quite a few experiences that involve what seem to be malevolent beings over the years. I'm wondering, though, how sure are you that he wasn't responsible for those negative experiences?
I'm not really. I'm not. I can't say hand on heart that he's not. If it is him, then, that's difficult. I was going to say if it is him or was him, then again, I would believe that he's driving me indoors to keep me safe. But then with that blast of energy that came through my bedroom, that was was honestly the most terrifying thing I've ever encountered. It was probably not as much as him if he'd actually stood up that time, but it was like a shockwave. If you didn't hear the first one, it was this massive, great big shockwave that went through my bedroom and actually knocked my owl off his perch like a big bloke's hand, and pushed my dog over. He was sitting up, and it pushed him over onto his side, and then it ripped down some wind chimes outside my bedroom window. So I can't. If that had been him, that would have meant he was on purposely scaring me, and he did a big job, a really good job. But probably more, if it is one of those, then probably more likely to be the black one. But with everything else that has happened here all my life, the different energies and the different spirits that all my family have seen, honestly, Vic, it could have been anything. It could have been any of them. We have a lady spirit here, which we've named. I'm not going to name her because lots of the village know, and if they hear it, they know exactly where I am. But she's lovely. She's been with us all her life. She plays tricks on us, and all us kids have grown up talking about all the silly things she's done with us. And she's like part of the family. But there is, we've all seen a very large man here who is not very nice, not very nice at all. So it's very, very possible, for whatever reason, he aimed that at me. But I'm waffling now. I really don't know on that one. It's very difficult, very difficult. If it was him, I do believe he was doing it for a reason to keep me in, but I was already in, so I don't think it was him. Don't think it was him, really.
Well, you just might be right. It might not be him. Now, I've got opinions on this, but I want to ask you, there were several comments listeners left that touched on the possibility that he is a demonic entity that's simply grooming you in some way. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I did. It did cross my mind. Someone put up trickster, and actually a friend of mine very recently said the same thing. Said, you're being tricked. You're being, he's fooling you, basically. I don't feel that. It's a really difficult thing. I don't feel that. Or maybe that's me not wanting to feel that because I'm living it, and because that is too scary to think that. Because if that is the case, then one day he will turn and do something. But I don't honestly feel that. My gut feeling is that he's actually looking after me from something else. If he is fooling me, then he's very, very clever. And maybe I just haven't had enough. I've had a lot of experience, but maybe the wrong experiences to tell the difference. But I do feel that the large male, I honestly do feel with him that he is some type of a guardian, and that there's something else going on here. Yeah, I really do.
What I really wonder about with all this is, if he was grooming you for a fall, why do that? If his intent is to take you down, to harm you somehow, he's had all these opportunities to do it. If that's what he wanted, why hasn't he done that by now?
I know. Well, I think, I'm 60 now, and if he's been walking the woodlands, well, I believe he's been here before me. He's had multiple times that he wouldn't wait 60 years to hurt me. He wouldn't. Although I suppose their time is, they're here. He's here forever, isn't he? So time isn't a limit to him. But I believe if he was going to hurt me or my animals, he would have done it by now. There's something else going on here. Yeah. That I'm positive there's something else going on, and he looks after me.
Yeah, sounds like you just might be right about that. When you had your first encounter with him about 20 years ago, you said that he seemed to be surprised to see you. When he stood up onto his back legs to run away, how would you describe that motion he used to stand up like that? Did it look like he did a hard push-up, or was it some other kind of motion?
It was very, very quick. It was very fluid, very graceful. I didn't hear, since then I've heard people say you can hear their joints popping and things. I didn't hear any of that. Nothing. It was just, it would be impossible to picture, but if you just pictured your pet dog just standing up and doing that, it was, they wouldn't be graceful because they're not designed to do it, obviously, but it was just one very fluid motion, like I don't think a person could do that actually in without stumbling or just looking awkward for a second. It was just very graceful, just straight up and span round.
I don't know how you do it. You have so many things going on there, Daisy. It makes you wonder what's next. It really does. You're unable to go out after dark without a worry anymore. Do you think there's ever going to come a time where you're able to head out after dark and actually enjoy yourself? I mean, your farm sounds so beautiful. It really would be a shame if you couldn't do that. But on the other hand, I do understand why you have these concerns when you think about everything that's gone on.
It's very difficult because it obviously both times I've seen him were beautiful sunny days. So Um, but things have happened at night, especially the winter of 23, which I was saying about last time. And it's because of the build up of all of those that have happened after dark. And they have been really, really scary, really, really nasty. And as I've said to you before, I loved to be up the woods at night time on my own, just me and a dog, or sitting in the middle of the field, open field, just looking at the stars. And I would do it for hours. I'd just sit there and just look at the stars. And now I'm just about getting brave enough to, I have to go and see my horse. He's not far away from the house. So at 10 o'clock, I have to go and check him, whatever. I brought myself a really powerful torch, which has given me a bit more confidence, which is silly. And I keep telling myself it's silly because honestly, that torch is not going to save me if anything does happen. It's just the fact that I can see it, hopefully. But I don't, I've been up the fields recently. It's dark here now at 4:30. It's pitch black by 5. And I've been up the fields sort of half full and trying to keep myself up there for longer, trying to build up the confidence, but I just can't. I can't. And I get home onto the farm and obviously there's a couple of little lights, got the house light. We haven't got any lamps outside, nothing. And I will wander around just trying to force myself to stay out there, trying to bring back that love of being out there. The love hasn't gone, but I just don't feel safe now often. And it happened a couple of nights ago. Nothing bad happened and I didn't feel the fear, but I was just intently aware that I was being watched. And I got indoors and it just felt like, it just felt like I was still being watched maybe through the windows, through the walls. I don't know, but I was aware of it. And I didn't get hit by that fear, nothing, but I was just aware of it. And, after, like I explained earlier, I've had him walk up to me and not been able to see him. I've seen him, I've seen him in his invisible form. Sounds weird, but that's how I've seen him 3 times. And to know that they can do that, and unless you see a movement, they can be right beside you, is a very daunting thing when I'm out there on my own. And I mean, honestly, if there was someone with you and something happened, it's like having the confidence in that torchlight, isn't it? Basically, if they decide to do something, they're going to do it. Which again goes back to the fact that I believe he's not going to hurt me because he would have done so many times before. And I do feel that more than anything, he's beside me to look after me from something else. The answer is I don't think I can imagine ever feeling, I know I can't imagine ever feeling safe again out there at night time, which is silly because I am going up the woods now again. I had a year where I didn't go up the woods because of this, and I forced myself, and every time I'm up there, I'm thinking, oh my God, am I going to see him? Are my dogs okay? But it's my life. And I'm trying to build up that confidence again, but I will never have it again at night time.
Well, it goes without saying, I'm so glad you're able to head back up into the woods and do whatever you need to do out there at night again. It really would be a shame if you could never do that. I'm still not sure how you feel about this, though, Daisy. Are you glad you've had all the encounters you've had with him, or in some way, do you wish they never happened?
Oh, both, I think, is the best way of answering that, because gosh, that's a difficult one. I would say it's in a tiny way. I feel blessed that I've seen him because I know that but maybe that goes again back to the fact that I believe he's my guardian and a guardian of woodlands. So in that way, I feel blessed. But the fact that I knew spirits exist anyway. I've seen so many in different forms. But again, to see something like him, something so massive, with obviously these gifts that they have, you are left in absolutely no doubt at all that there will be other things that exist. 100%. No. Like I said, I grew up seeing spirits. I've seen all types of spirits, animals, and I'm talking about dogs and humans. But to actually see something that looks like him, so massive and so close, and to have, well, like that blast that went through my bedroom, and to know that those things happen and there's going to be more out there, that's very daunting. It makes you feel very small. It does. It makes you feel very small and very not insecure is the wrong word, but it does. It just makes you feel teeny.
Oh, I'm sure it does. It would have to. You told us that when you see him now, it's almost like you're seeing a long-lost friend. With that said, though, do you really think you can fully trust him?
No, I couldn't. Not 100%. No, I couldn't. And that's another difficult one because, like I said, I do feel he's a guardian, and I do talk myself into believing that he's not going to hurt me, because otherwise, if I go around thinking he's going to hurt me every 5 minutes, then I will have lost my life. I will have lost my free will to walk the woodlands, which is exactly what happened to my mum. My mum had 2 encounters. The second one left her. She never, ever, ever went to the woods again. She would always walk in the fields, in the open, where she could see something coming towards her. If I go around all the time believing that he's around the corner and he's going to hurt me or my dogs, I'll lose my life of walking in those woodlands. And I would really, really struggle. Without that, I wouldn't be myself. So I believe that he's my guardian, and I talk myself into it, both of them. But I couldn't say that I trust him completely with myself or my dogs. And I don't know if that's just because, obviously, since my encounters, I've watched chats like yours and others, and I've heard some really bad stories, and so maybe it's my mind working overtime. Maybe I'm scaring myself. But with something like that, you couldn't say 100% that you trust them. You just can't. In a little way, I feel like I've let him down by saying that, but honestly, with something like that, it would be like living with a pet lion, and and making friends with it. It would be your kitten, but you would never 100% trust that its nature's not going to kick in, and it's not going to see you as a steak.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Like me, you've got strong beliefs about the afterlife. Have all these encounters that you've had any effect on that?
That's difficult again. No, not really. Only in the fact that I believe he's been here forever. In fact, I was saying to someone a while ago, it's almost like he's older than the land. It's almost like he was part of the reason this land was made. But I have had other spirits come back to me and talk to me and tell me certain things. So I have, I 100% believe that this isn't all there is. I know there's much, much more. And it's something that certain people I talk to, because, when people lose loved ones, and it's just horrendous. It's just awful, and it's so sad. But if they could understand some of the things that I've been told, or if they could see them themselves, it would help them so much, knowing that their loved ones are still around, and that at some point they will still be back together. They really will.
Yeah, when you come to that realization, it does change everything.
There's so much more. Yeah, so much more. I mean, my mum passed 5 years ago. She's been back to see me twice. Before my mum passed, my gran came to me and told me my mum was going to be ill, and she told me certain things that all played out. And yeah, I've seen a lot. I've had a lot of spirits come and tell me things, and very personal things that other people wouldn't know. And it's very, very comforting. It really is. It's lovely. It's really lovely to know that they honestly are still around. But as for him, it's really the length of time that he's been here. But that's a different thing, really. That's something else that requires a lot of thought, put it that way, because he's so different.
Yeah, that he is. Do all of your siblings know about the experiences you've had with that dog man? And if so, how did they respond when you told them?
Yes, they do. Trying to think. They do. They all believe me, apart from my younger brother, who has had not experiences with him, but experiences with spirits. But he's he's been through an awful lot, and I think he's shut himself down, and he's just trying to, what he calls, live a normal life. He doesn't disbelieve me, but he doesn't believe me either. The others, they all believe me completely. I had one sister we've all grown up seeing spirits, but some of us more so than others. One sister is just like me. And I told her about the second encounter. I told her about the first encounter, but when I told her about the second encounter, she looked at me like, well, I believe you, but I'm not quite sure it was that extreme. And then I took her for a walk, probably about a month after the second encounter, and we were actually on the same track in the exact spot that I saw him, but I hadn't told her where it was. And I was walking ahead with my dog. She was behind me a little way with her dogs. And she did a half scream, and I turned around, said, what's wrong? And she said, she went, oh my God, something's just growled at me. Something's growling at me in my ear. And I knew what that was, and she knew what it was. And so she completely believes me now. But he's done that to me. He's growled at me, literally like he's resting, or someone has resting his head on my shoulder. It's that loud. Once it was like a snarl, and the second time it was like these grunty growls, which are very scary. Are very scary, whether that was him or whether that was her. But either way, I didn't come to any harm. I was just very scared. The first time it happened, I didn't go back to that area for about 6 months. It scared me so badly. Sorry, they do all believe me, and my dad believes me. And like I said, he's heard things to back him up even more, because the others don't live here. They left home and got married, but Dad's obviously here with me, so he's heard more than they have.
When your sister had that experience, did she run to tell all of your other siblings about what happened to her?
I think she's told her daughters. And maybe my other sister. Yes, my other sister. But I don't know about anyone else. So it really scared her. In fact, I'm trying to think. I don't think she's been up there with me since then. And that was well over a year ago. So yeah.
How about your dad? Is he afraid to be alone?
He doesn't like to be on his own. I wouldn't say he's particularly afraid, but he doesn't like to be. He had an experience years ago. He was actually out poaching with a friend, and he said they heard something walking towards them through really thick, like brambles and things, and he said it was really loud. They had a big torch with them. They couldn't see anything. And he said, whatever it was, he said, walked straight up to them, both of them, and absolutely frightened the life out of his mate. And I think because probably Dad's had a bit more experience with spirits, he was scared, but it didn't terrify him. But he said that they had the same as what I've had. This, whatever it was, walked straight up to them. And he said you could literally I might be wrong, but I'm sure he said you could hear something breathing in front of them. And and he will still talk about that to this day. So he's had quite a few things happen to him himself.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You told us about that big dog man's ability to cloak. When he's done that around you, do you ever feel any strange sensations?
Not as in sickness. I've often had it's just like a pressure. It's not like really a headache, but I've had a pressure in my head or on my head, almost like someone's pushing your head back. I've had that, but I haven't had sickness or actual pain in my head. It's more like it's like a big thumb on my forehead, just push or forehead or my chin. I've had that on my chin, and that was quite forceful, like something just pushing me back slowly and steadily. I've had that.
Well, that's strange.
Have you heard of that? Or
no, I've never heard of that. Some people have reported a tingling electricity type sensation, but I've never heard about that before.
I have had tingling. I've had like waves of what I call waves of tingling. It starts in my calves and then works its way all the way up. So I was forgetting that until you said it. But yeah, I've had that. But no sickness or anything like that, like some people.
I didn't want to lead you with that question by asking you about tingling, so yeah, that's why I didn't bring that up. But yeah, they do all sorts of strange things.
Yeah, it must be a form of energy that they're giving out, or I don't know. I mean, the pressure thing really is just like a big thumb, like I said, either on my forehead or my chin, and it's a gentle pressure that will actually feel like I'm being pushed backwards. But the tingling is like huge big waves of tingles just go straight up through your body. And I forgot about that till you said it.
Yeah, it's got to feel awfully strange. It must. Other than that strange force, that strong force that blew through your home that one time, has anything ever happened that makes you think that he might have come inside?
No. No. I had this was a few years ago. And it might have been him, it might not have been. I was actually clearing out a bedroom, and the one I'm in now, and I pulled some boxes out from underneath the bed, and I just became very aware of something behind me. This might be him, or it might be the spirit of the man I was talking about earlier, because it literally did feel, it was very, very intense, and it literally felt like I was just waiting for something behind me to punch me in the back. It was like that, very, very intense. So other than that and the force, like I said, I can't say, whether it was him or not, but I did have that, and that was a horrible sensation. It really was just like I was waiting to be punched in the back. I was waiting for that pain, which didn't happen, but not very nice.
Not very nice at all. You sure don't frighten easily, Daisy. I've got to give it to you. If most people had a fourth of the experiences that you've had on that property, they would have packed up and gotten out of there. But the fact you're still there, that says everything.
I think if I hadn't grown up like I did, and the rest of my family having all these encounters with spirits, then I'd have been absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. But it's almost like we grew up accepting all these other things. So he's very extreme, but he's just another step away from all of that, really.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up. It is. Well, it's about time for us to get out of here, but before we do you have any closing comments you want to share with us?
Oh, no, other than I really do, again, I'm going back to, I do feel that he is they're guardians of the woodlands. They really are, and I believe that the more houses and things that go up, then maybe the more encounters people will have with these. It's a bit like the large cats being driven out of their areas, and people will have more encounters. I just hope that other people can have encounters like mine, because I've been very, very lucky. I hope I'm correct and that he is looking after me. I really pray that that is the case. And I do feel that is the case. And I'm sure that it hasn't all ended yet, because this, like I said, 2023 was awful, really, really awful. And certain things have already happened this year to believe that it's all building up again. But time will tell on that. I just go around doing what I do and trying to keep my head down from it all. But no, I wouldn't live any other way. I adore this place, and if he's here with me, then so be it. The two of us have just got to find a way of respecting each other and getting along, basically. As long as he doesn't hurt me, my family, or my animals, then all is fine.
I hope he never does do any of those things. I really do. And I don't know how I could ever help you, but if I ever can, please let me know and I'll be there for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know. And it's been so helpful doing this. And as I said before, reading people's comments, because they're so interesting, and people have got some amazing ideas, and some, I can either help them or they'll help me to try and, he's here. He's never going to go away. He's here. I just have to tick along beside him. So there's nothing basically that anybody could do about that. He's here. This is his home. He's probably got more right here than I have. But as long as we learn to live together relatively comfortably without anyone getting hurt, well, that's what matters.
That's right. That's all that does. Well, Daisy, I can't thank you enough for coming on to share those experiences with us. Like I told you before, I really do appreciate it. And of course, I hope you have a great night.